Hi everyone, thanks so much for checking back in with us on Teams for Business on another episode. I'm your host, Jackie,
I'm Kylan.
I'm Ivan.
And I'm Jack.
and this is part two of our M&TSI series where I talk about my experiences at the University of Pennsylvania's M&T program this week or this month. So if you haven't watched part one, make sure to go and do so right now. And for the more social aspect, like the social lives, student lives of M&TSI. So I know that there's a lot of talk on how M&TSI is super rigorous and intensive, which definitely it is. We mentioned this in the last episode, but basically whenever I had like a quick elevator chat with someone from another program, they would always just be like, "Oh, M&TSI is the one that you guys get no sleep, you guys like get so much homework, yada yada yada." But I quickly learned that. But we absolutely still had so much fun. Do you guys have any questions about the student life, how things were on that side, or just like fun things about the program?
Yeah, so when you previously mentioned that you would hang out with all your friends before actually doing work after lights out. So what was your like go-to activity during then? Were you like participating with activities by yourself? Like do you organize yourself, or would you doing some type of summer discovery organized event?
Oh yeah, okay, good question. So just for anyone listening who doesn't really kind of know how the Wharton summer programs are structured, is that um all the Wharton programs are kind of like with Summer Discovery, which is like a third party organization. And so they were responsible for like our residentials. So all of the RCs, like they were from Summer Discovery, and Summer Discovery with the RCs had like some activities, there were opportunities to go to Center City, there were opportunities to like have like make your own like food, like make boba contests, things like that. So like those were definitely options for people, and it wasn't just for like M&TSI kids, like other program students, I'm sure like Jack and Ivan, like they experienced this, but like LBW, Essentials, like they all got the opportunity to go to like the RCs activities. But basically I know what a lot of M&TSI students did is like we didn't really have time to go to those activities because the schedules were very different. So our last class ended at 6 o'clock, and then we would get dinner until like 7-ish. But a lot of the activities were like at 6 o'clock, or whenever the activities where we had to like do homework or, be illusion that we were doing homework. So we didn't really get a lot of opportunities to do those activities. So for instance, like when they went to Center City, I don't know any M&TSI student that like went to Center City, or like when they were playing soccer or whatever. Like I don't really know anyone who was actually doing that. They were all like activities that we like as M&TSI students organized. And a lot of what we did was like sit in lounges, like playing Cards Against Humanity, playing poker. Poker was a big thing for us. The TAs actually played with us, and they had like poker sets and everything, and it was very fun. So all of the activities, I think most of them at least, were things that we like M&TSI students organized and like did just by ourselves, except for like the bigger weekend activities, like when we went to Hershey Park. Obviously that was sponsored by Summer Discovery, and like we went with RCs. And then when we went to the King of Prussia, like the mall, that was also like an RC outing. But everything else, like just regular like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, kind of those activities were just things that we organized.
Ooh, that King of Prussia trip must have been like really interesting. I know in the LBW episode, I think Ivan got to go, but I chose not to go. But I heard they actually made that mandatory for you guys to go. No, no.
Yeah.
So so wait, did you go to the King of Prussia?
Yeah. I didn't go to DC though. That was the one I didn't go to because
Oh, I see.
yeah,
So can you
busy.
briefly like describe your like I guess like King of Prussia like experience?
Okay, so King of Prussia is one of the biggest malls in the US. Correct me on like that stat, but it's definitely one of the bigger malls out there. It's quite big actually. And so I love like shopping, even if it's just like window shopping, even if it's like whatever. So I had a blast there. We were with a group of friends, and kind of the thing is like because it's so big and like because people have like different interests, like I know a lot of my guy friends, like when I went to Sephora and things like that, like they were just essentially totally waiting on me. Like it was totally just like, okay, Jackie, like you and your roommate go through your thing, we'll like stand here, like we're fun, we'll talk to you, but like they weren't really like doing anything. So kind of because it's like so big, so many options of stores, like at the end we kind of split up a little bit, but the experience as a whole was really, really fun. And it kind of just was, it was so big. So it was a lot. And then we spent, I think, 4 to 5 hours there. Oh, and the reason I actually went was because originally that was the same day as the Phillies game, like the baseball game. And so originally my entire friend group actually signed up for the Phillies game, not the mall, but it was raining that day and it was a tremendous downpour that day. So the game got canceled itself. And so obviously, well, it got like delayed a lot, but then the RCs were like, yeah, we're not doing that. So we had the option to go to the mall instead. And so that's what my friends and I did. So that was kind of why we went there. Like originally we weren't even planning to go. It just kind of happened, but I'm glad that we did go because it was very fun. And I've never been. So that was great.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. Yeah, I think it is one of the biggest malls in US, but it's like in general, I guess. I know you said it's like a rigorous course, but can you talk a little bit more about like the work-life balance, I guess? Like how much sleep were you getting, and how much free time did you guys really have, I guess?
Uh, um, okay, yeah, so that's kind of like again like dependent on weeks. So for all of our listeners, if you haven't listened to part one, go do that now because that gives like a lot of background information on like how the weeks were structured. But week three, chaotic, very chaotic. The labs were open until 2 a.m. and I think many teams actually stayed until 2. So sleep was a little bit wacky that week. But for all the other ones, I think there was like an average of around 6 hours. It's not that bad considering like regular school is probably 6, 7. But that last week, a lot of my friends were a little bit down on sleep. There was also a moment that last week where everyone, I think in my friend group at least, and like some of our adjacent friend groups, um, everyone had tried a caffeine pill at some point or like had like some kind of thing like that. So I don't personally, I've never like tried a caffeine pill. Like they don't really work for me. Like coffee doesn't work. I don't like that it doesn't work because sometimes I just need caffeine, but like it just doesn't really work on me. So I was not part of that group. But a lot of my friends who have never tried caffeine pills like tried it, and everyone was like very much deprived on sleep. Um, and it sounds bad, but low key, it was only like the last few days, and also because it was just a little bit of like time management issues that we had going on because everyone like it was like 11 o'clock. We wanted to like have fun with our friends. Like it wasn't all just like, oh yeah, let's work, 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 work. So that was that. And then we actually had like quite a few bits of free time. Except for the last week again, that's just a little bit of an outlier. But for weeks 1 and 2, we obviously were in class from 10 to 6, and then 10 like I know is like a little bit late compared to like other classes. So I was really incredibly grateful that I got to sleep like 30 minutes more. Like it's not that much, but it was great mentally. Um, and so we like 10 to 6 was just like actual in class working, whatever. And then we get dinner. So basically from 6 until 12 o'clock, which is when like we had to be back in our dorm specifically. So like that little 6 hour period was all like free time for us and we could do whatever we wanted. Obviously we had homework, but I know a lot of my friends did homework like after midnight when we were all like sanctioned in our rooms. So there was free time, definitely, and there definitely was time to like have fun. And I think the program made sure that we weren't all just like forever working.
Yeah, and kind of like adding the question to that. So what do you think is like the most memorable event or hanging out like time where you think like you if you didn't do this, your entire program would have been much more depressing. But what is like the most memorable time period you had, like, especially with your friends during this program?
I think that's like a very almost difficult question to answer because looking back on it, and I'm sure like this applies to like high school or like whatever, like experience with other people as a whole, but there's not really like a singular moment that's like stands out to me that's like this is the moment I had the most fun with my friends. It's very much like all kind of a blur. You just remember having a lot of fun and like random little moments. There's not a specific defined one. And I think like my roommate, she is like, okay, so I think of myself as extroverted. Like I think I'm a pretty open person. I like talking to people. I get very energized when I talk to people, but she is incredibly social, like very, very, very social. And so together we were talking a lot and like we talked to a bunch of other people. And so I just think like in general, like when we would sit in the lounges, I was on the 14th floor, and a lot of my friends were on the 14th floor as well. So like that kind of became like the hangout spot for us. And so just like little moments there where we would all like laugh and then we just like literally just could not stop laughing. That was very fun. And I think like also it wasn't all just M&TSI kids. Like, yeah, I spent like 10 a.m. to like 6 p.m. in class with them, but we also got the chance to meet a lot of non-M&TSI kids. I know like one of my friends was from Moneyball, and then I had some other friends from other programs as well, I think, and finance too. So you kind of just like start making friends outside of the program. Like you don't get the opportunity to see them as much, which is a little sad, but like in your free time, like after class and after their classes, you guys like get the chance to like hang out. So that was very fun.
Oh, what was your favorite like food option for lunch or like dinner, like for throughout the program?
Um, okay, so there is for anyone who like doesn't really know like how the Penn campus is, so there's like Houston Market. Um, and basically it's like in this like big building and it's like underground, not underground, but like it's in the basement, like downstairs. And there's like a bunch of different options. It's almost like a like food hall in a sense. So there's like a bunch of different restaurants. And then my favorite was this, I forgot the name, but it's like this sushi place. And so every single time I would go, I'd get like poke bowls. And I tried a few, but the salmon one with teriyaki sauce was my favorite and it was so good. And then I would always get like extra teriyaki on the side just because like it was very good. Like that just hit different. And I know a lot of my friends like that was their favorite option too. So that was great. And then oh, another thing for like late night snacks because we had room check or we had like check-ins from like 9 to 10. So that basically meant that you had to be in the building, like not specifically your dorm, but just like in the building by whenever you checked in. And so like the latest would be 10 p.m. And sometimes I would just be like craving like a drink or like I'd be like a boba or whatever, or I'd be craving like some other thing. So on the side of campus, we had Canes, and I know Canes is like a more southern, like Western thing. So we don't have that here in Maryland. So I got to try Canes for the first time as like a late night snack one time. And then there's also like a Gong Cha, which is like a bubble tea place there. So that served definitely as a very nice like late night kind of snack. Not late night, but like 9 o'clock snack. So those were definitely, I think, my top ones. And then there was, I mean, there were like other really good restaurants, and then, but I think like Houston was like the most popular one because it was just easy. Also, we had dining dollars to use, so that was just very quick and easy. And then we had on the last day like an M&TSI dinner. So we had like the faculty come, and then we had obviously like the 75 students, and then like parents if they wanted to join us. And then we had it at like a more fancy kind of thing at the end. So that was great.
Yeah. So I guess my question was like, when I visited Penn this summer, it was kind of like the city and the school are like pretty intertwined. Like you're there, but it's like the city's right there as well. So I guess did you get a chance to like explore Philly, or was it like they boxed you guys kind of in, like for safety reasons and whatnot?
Yeah. So okay, I think like one thing is like Penn obviously is like the school is obviously in the city in Philly, is very involved, but you also like when you're on campus like Locust Walk, you get like a very like you're on campus. It feels very much like campus, like all the buildings are Penn. Like you kind of like have that feeling, and then you like get off of Locust, and then you have like buildings on the streets like Tangen, which is where we had the vast majority of our business lectures. That was like kind of not on the main like Locust Walk. It was just like somewhere else. So that was great. And like that's kind of where you got to like experience the cities. And then you had like Acme, which is like a supermarket. And you got like boundaries. So I think it was like 3 blocks. Um I forgot like exactly where it was, but you definitely got the opportunity to explore a little bit and like kind of got to like understand the surrounding campuses or surrounding like locations. And then Drexel was like very close to Penn. And so one of the boundaries was like right there, but like you got to see into like their campus a little bit and like the stores that were kind of the intersection. And then the RCs had like activities where students could go into Center City and like they could do like things they wanted to do, like explore Philly a little bit more. Unfortunately, like M&TSI students, I know like most of us didn't go to those because there just wasn't enough time, but definitely for other programs, they got the opportunity to do that. And then RC outings, like you could go outside the boundaries. So sometimes like we would like walk out the boundaries like for like food or like for something like that. That was just for fun. So that was definitely very interesting. And I think like the intersection of like Penn and like the actual like city was great because like on the main walk, like Locust Walk, like you know you're on campus and it's very like campus vibes. But then you walk like maybe like 2 minutes to the right and you're like not on Locust Walk anymore and you're like more city style. So that was great.
Yeah, and I know you didn't really have much time to actually go explore the in and outs of Philly, whatnot, but what is like your favorite or one of your favorite spots, especially on the UPenn campus, that you hung out or you feel like it was really pretty, or you feel like you could have spent more time there if you could?
Oh, okay. So I think one of my favorite places was in Huntsman Hall. So I'm not sure if it's like publicly like you can just like go if you're not like a Penn student, but we had like badge access that was like the same essentially as like an undergraduate student, so we could get into like a lot of the buildings. And so Huntsman Hall was a great place to like go study. I'm actually sure like I think a lot of people can go into Huntsman because I know like some of my friends from other programs went to Huntsman to study at like 8, 9 o'clock as well. So there was that. Huntsman was very fun. I love the vibe in there and it was like very like peaceful and you could like work and get stuff done, but also like have fun with your friends. Another place I really, really loved was where else did I really like? Okay, so I'm gonna try to like describe this, but basically like where like the dining halls were like Lauder and like where what is it called? Hill were, if like that little like plaza right there, there's like a big field there. So that was very fun. Just because like that was like a lot of like space and you could just kind of like chat with your friends and it was like nice to have like that greenery around. And then obviously like Locust Walk was absolutely stunning. Like a little bridge. I don't know why I always like find that like seemed to be super peaceful. And I was on the 14th floor, but some of my friends were on like 15, 16, 17, so like a little bit more high up. And like the sunsets, I don't know why, but Philly sunsets are always so good. Like I don't know if Jack and Ivan, you guys noticed, and like Kai when you visited noticed, but like Philly sunsets are always so nice and super clear and like just it looks so good. Like I took this one picture, like the Philly sunset, and it's like my wallpaper right now. So it was just very beautiful. And every single night at like 8 o'clock ish, you'd always get to see it. Even if it was like rainy, it would just like clear up. So it was very nice. Um, okay. Does anyone have any more questions? If not, we can like go ahead and give like some final remarks. Wait, do we have questions? No. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you guys all so much for tuning into part 2 of me talking about my experience at M&TSI this summer. So if you guys have any questions, like as the audience, feel free to message us at Teens for Business on our socials, things like that. So make sure to join us on our next episode for Teens for Business and connect with us on all of our social media platforms.